In this video, I'm going to review the Qilta calf sleeves and recovery socks. So just a little bit of history before getting to the details of the review about why I was using the Qilta calf sleeves and recovery socks. So when I did the Sweden Extreme Triathlon last year, they were one of the sponsors and they provided each athlete that took part with a pair of the calf sleeves and recovery socks. So after that race, I made use of them. I then, a couple of weeks later, completed Trofea Kima, which is one of the sky running extreme races, and it was a really good recovery period I had in between Sweden and then going into Kima despite the quick turnaround, and I attributed some of that to the Qiltas. So when I started ramping up my training for UTMB, I got in touch with Qilta to find out whether they'd now been formally launched. They haven't, it's worth flagging that, they're still very much in the test phase, but Jim was very kind, the owner of Qilta, to send me some kits to try out and give him some detailed feedback on how I got on with them. So I put them through a number of different trials. When I spoke to Qilta Sweden last year, it was very much about just a single product after you'd done a hard event you wore them, but they'd found in their testing that actually wearing them in advance of a big event or some hard training days, particular in say multi-day events as well, that Qiltas are quite good wearing them for a couple of days before the event and then also post-event to maximise the recovery. So that's what I did. The first session that I wore, the first test that I put them through, was before a 4.5 hour long run. I wore a pair of Qiltas for about an hour and a half, 2 days before, the day before, and then also post that run. Test number 2 was doing a back-to-back long runs. So those two runs were around 35 kilometers and then 41 kilometers, both with over 3,000 meters of climbing. So I wore again a pair of Qiltas the day before, then after the first day, and then after the second day. And in the final test, I decided to also introduce cycling. So I cycled up Mont Ventoux. I wore a pair of Qiltas post that cycle ride. I then ran up and down Ventoux, which was 46 kilometers with around 2,500 meters of climbing. And then I wore a pair of Qiltas that evening. And then the final day, I cycled up Ventoux again, and again wore recovery sleeves and socks post that. So those were the 3 tests that I put them through. So what exactly are Qiltas? What do you get in the pack? Well, as I mentioned, there are calf sleeves and also socks. The calf sleeves do have a slight compression quality to them, but the main benefit of Qilta is actually the formula they have on the inside, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So you get a pair of calf sleeves and then also a pair of socks, which also feature the recovery formula. So Qilta are a double layered system, so you have the exterior, but then on the interior there's a second layer. And so by having this double layered system, it allows them to actually put a formula on the inside, and then wearing the product, it gets that formula into your skin, and it's therefore, I said, if you wear them for around an hour and a half pre and post the training. Within that formula, it's designed to have active ingredients which help aid recovery. It's also very cooling. That's one of the things which I really remember after Sweden, was the cooling sensation that you get from wearing them, and also its targeted relief. And the research that they've done suggests that it can help with Achilles. It also helps with foot pains and also things like lifted nails even. So there's a multiple number of benefits. The formula that's in them as well is also designed to reduce inflammation, and overall it's all about increasing the speed of recovery. And that's really what I experienced when I tried them out. And in particular, when I did the back-to-back long runs, they were both very hard days, and yet the day after the second long run, my feet and my calves are actually still feeling really good. And I think the socks in particular is something which was really novel to me, because I just kind of accepted when I was doing these 40-45 kilometer long runs on trails with a lot of ascent and descent on sort of tough rocky terrain, that your feet would be aching at the end of each day. But having the socks in particular, it made a real difference. The calf sleeves, again, there is some slight compression elements, so it may be something that you're familiar with if you've worn other sort of compression garments. However, again, you do get that soothing sensation from the formula that's been put on the inside of the calf sleeves. And along with the socks, it's just a really kind of unique experience and sensation. Again, the day after the long runs, and also the other weekends when I was doing sort of cycling as well, my calves were feeling really good. And in particular, when I did the cycle ride, so I did cycle, long run, cycle, on that second cycle, I was having to stand out the saddle a lot because my quads were hurting significantly more than my calves were, and by standing out the saddle while cycling, I was putting more emphasis on my calf muscles rather than my quads. And I attribute that partly down to the recovery features of the Qiltas. Overall, I've been really impressed by them, and I proactively contacted them, as I said, after doing Sweden, because I remember the cooling sensation and the fact that I think they did help with my recovery in that period. And the 3 trials that I've done of the product so far has only enhanced my opinion of that. So it is something I'll be looking to roll out for my big training weeks going forward as I build up to UTMB. They aren't out yet, but my understanding is that they are due to launch by Q3 this year, 2019. So make sure you go onto the Qilta website if you're interested in finding out more details. I'll leave a link down below. And also I believe you can register your interest there as well, so you'll get notified when they do launch. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. I'll see you next time.